Hey there, grade 3. I'd like you to know that you all did a great job with your video presentation, and I am so amazed with your own example of like and unlike fractions. So, here is a star for all of you. Keep it up. And now we are going to talk about equivalent fractions. Do you have any idea what does it mean? If you have, awesome. If you don't have, don't worry. That's going to be our lesson for today and for tomorrow. So you got to pay attention. Let me define to you what equivalent fraction is. So equivalent fraction means having the same value even though it may look different. Interesting. For us to know more about equivalent fraction, I'd like us to watch this video. But before that, I'd like you to pay attention and answer our discussion questions after. So ready? Let's watch this video.
Making equivalent fractions. This is a must-have skill. With it, you will ace your fractions problems. If you're ready for this film, then you've used fraction strips before. Here's a whole one. Let's fold it to make two halves. This whole is in quarters. This is in sixths. This is in eighths. And this is in tenths. Let's colour up one half of it, one part out of two. And that's 2 parts out of 4. And 3 parts out of 6. 4 parts out of 8. And 5 parts out of 10. You can see these are all equivalent fractions. Notice that the denominator is 2 times its numerator for all these equivalent fractions of 1/2. And you could easily think of some more like this without using fraction strips. 10 over 20, 30 over 60, 50 over 100. I want you to take a note. The rule is equivalent fractions can only be made by multiplying or dividing. And whatever I do to the numerator, the top number, I've got to do to the denominator, the bottom number. Now let's go back. These equivalent fractions of 1/2 have bigger numbers, but we can see they all have the same size value. So we multiplied to get these equivalent fractions. Now let's think about that without the fraction strips. Here's 1/2. What do I multiply the numerator and the denominator by to get this equivalent fraction? 2. 1 times 2 is 2 and 2 times 2 is 4. I used a factor of 2 to make this equivalent fraction. You can see whatever I do to the top, I've got to do to the bottom. So if I use a factor of 3, I get this equivalent fraction. A factor of 4 gets me this equivalent fraction. And when I use 5, I get this equivalent fraction. You can see it in action here. Whatever I do to the top, I've got to do to the bottom. That's easy enough, isn't it? Okay then, so let's do some practice to make it stick before you hit the worksheets. 3 over 4, 3/4, 3/4. What if I make an equivalent fraction using a factor of 2? Whatever I do to the top, I've got to do to the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6, the new numerator, over 4 times 2 is 8, the new denominator. Or I could use 3. 3 times 3 is 9, over 4 times 3 is 12. I could use 5. 3 times 5 is 15, over 4 times 5 is 20. I can use any factor I choose to make an equivalent fraction, as long as I multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, then I'm doing it right. Now it's your turn. Enjoy your math power as you make some equivalent fractions for yourself. And when you're brilliant at that, click here to go on to the next step, reducing fractions.